Good evening and salutations, my J fans. Lulu, my God. Since this woman has woken up out of that coma, she has just been not just getting on everyone's goddamn nerves, but she's been just going about life in the complete and utter wrong direction, right? Now, to tell you the truth, people should have kind of clued in on this the minute she started acting like a little brat jackass when she stormed up in Nina's office and practically was like, "Well, I'm not leaving." Like, just the most entitled being. And was just waiting for Carly, which, by the way, I love how she just acts as though, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I love how she just sits there and acts as though, she could be upset with Brooklyn. But the woman that paid her to come into town to break up their relationship, oh, no, 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 no. I'm not going to be upset with her. I'm just going to lash out at Brooklyn, right? That's just been her thinking pattern. And so, watching this scene today, she is just still operating on the ends justifies the means. And although, hey, listen, I may not handle it the best way, I'm not the bad guy. It's Brooklyn. I mean, my whole thing is Dante was like, listen, you could have just told me. But I needed to sit there and do the truth, and I needed to. And even he sat there and said, it wasn't your business. It wasn't your business. But you know what she says? She's like, yeah, but I had to do it because of my experience with Charlotte. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to do anything. You really didn't. You could have just did exactly what Dante said. Hey, you know what? Listen, bring it up to him. Let him handle it from there. But she keeps justifying it like she didn't do anything wrong and you should be upset with Brooklyn. And part of me does kind of look at the situation and it's like it is a bit out of pocket, and I said this yesterday. He has more fire and more anger, or at least his voice is elevated a lot more with Lulu than he was with Brooklyn. Now that's out of pocket to me. Okay, I'm just gonna be that's out of pocket. But ultimately, the person who's suffering the most, because just the way she went about it uplifted everyone's lives. But the innocent part in this whole thing is Gio, and it's just like it's not phasing her. He says something that's kind of close that gets her upset, as far as like, oh, you only did this to get it back, to get me back, to get back in my good graces, to get me back. And to be honest, it did kind of sound like that's where he was going. But she gets all angry, she gets so upset, and she's like, oh, well, I don't think we need to be friends, and da 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 da. I'm like, I'm sorry, are you really just going to stand here and act like you're the victim in this whole thing? Just like, she didn't listen to a goddamn person. And now she's in this mess because of her. And instead of showing a little bit of humility, I was like, listen, I'm really sorry, Dante, and da. She wants to sit there and double down and try to make it seem like, oh, well, he's the bad guy. So at this point, he's like, listen, whatever, fine. Stay away from me. Stay away from Gio. You did enough. Now we go to Michael and Willow, right? Willow wants to sit there and see the kids. Michael's like, listen, it's kind of late. And, at this point, Michael is just mad. He's mad. He's taking her a lot more seriously. He's not letting her do what she's been doing, which has been playing off of his emotions. You know what she says? that irked me when she was like, well, you know the kids belong with me. You know the kids belong with their mother. You didn't make those kids asexually. I don't know where that level of thinking is coming from. And he says, not anymore. And he's like, you know what? Listen, you've been putting your needs, you've been putting your wants ahead of the kids' needs. One of the things he does sit there and say is, you didn't really ask the kids what they wanted. When he was sitting there talking to him, he was like, two things that they said to him that probably got him on that plane a lot faster to get down there and take those kids was, when are you coming home, or when you come back home, and when are we going home? I mean, they were fine at the Quartermains, okay. And when she said, she was like, really? They said that? I was like, did you even actually have a conversation with those kids? Because she practically sat there and said it was a no-brainer. They love Uncle Drew. Yeah, of course they love Uncle Drew. They don't know everything that's been going on with them and how you and him have been handling things. And let's just sit there and say, for the sake of argument, okay, they love Uncle Drew. Loving Uncle Drew is not the same thing as living with Uncle Drew. I don't think that she actually had a conversation with them. I think she just took the sign of, oh, well, you love Uncle Drew, so, we're just going to live together and that'll just be fine. You didn't really sit there and ask them what they wanted because you cared more about what you wanted. And he's like, I'm tired of that. And because of that, that's not going to work. And he says, hey, listen, you can see the kids if you get rid of Drew. Because he's like, yo, listen, there's no way in hell I'm going to be having my kids live with that man. Now, huh, this is always the problem when you are with someone that have kids. Because everything turns into a lot. It's way more complicated. You know? This is when you gotta sit there and respect the mother or the other father's wishes, and it just gets insane. And so at that point, he's like, listen, that's the way it's gonna go. And he closes the door on her, and he walks away. She goes back to Drew, and at first she's like, listen, I want to go home. And Drew's like, I want to know what happened. And she tells him what happened, and she's like, the only way I may be able to see the kids if I end things with you. And Drew's like, well, you're not going to do that, right? She doesn't necessarily respond back. But eventually she does sit there and say, I may not have a choice. See, Michael did sit there and say to Jason that, yeah, he is kind of punishing her, right? And, Willow's like, he's gotten all cold and everything like that, and he's not the Michael I remember. He's not the Michael you remember because you turned him into this version. You turned him into this version. The same problem that I have with Willow is the same problem that I have with Ashley on Beyond the Gates. Okay? Women like those two turn good guys into assholes. And then when you meet the asshole version, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe you're acting like this. Like, what happened? You happened. That's what happened. The fact that she's like, oh, well, he's all cold and calculating, like, well, think about this. How do we get to that point? How are you going to sit there and ask, like, I don't understand where this is coming from? Like, are you serious? Drew, Willow just not having a goddamn brain at this point. Drew's like, no, 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 no. That's not going to happen. We're going to get the kids back. We're going to sit there and dig up all this dirt and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Because what he says is, okay, let's say you do give in to his demands. And you end things with me. You do that, Michael may not keep up his end of the bargain, and then you're alone. What makes you think she's alone? What makes you think she's gonna be alone? She's still pretty. She can find somebody else. I mean, listen, the problem isn't with. See, you're trying to make it seem like, oh, well, Michael's jealous. And so if he can't have her, then nobody can have her. That's not the case. He ain't upset with her moving on. He's upset with her being with you. And if Willow would have sat there and took 2 minutes to sit there and think, I can't believe I'm sitting up there saying that Nina's actually right, she would have realized that. But her not being able to actually have the ability to think on her own, she's like, you're right. And now Drew's like, we're going to dig up dirt and we're going to blow him out of the water. I mean, he does have some dirt. Okay? He did sit there and one of sleeping with another woman while they were married and, got her pregnant. It still may not be enough. So you have to find something else, or you better hope that he caves, because if he doesn't and she doesn't, that still could be your ass. And if Willow loses the kids, she's gonna have nobody to blame except for herself. This is what everybody's been saying. As much as I like Drew because he's messy and stuff, but everyone's been saying. Now Cody also feels kind of bad, goes to Sasha and starts talking about the situation and stuff like that with with Lulu and Gio being just heartbroken. Doesn't really go anywhere. She just gives him a pep talk or whatever. Gio has been at this bridge for like 2 goddamn days. And at this point, all the talking in the world is not making him feel better. And it's not drawing any conclusions on what he wants to do. So she's like, listen, why don't you just come with me or whatever and we'll figure it out. And I think that she does. I think he does want to go with her. You know? Now, as far as the rest of the family, Olivia obviously is not going to sit there and condemn her, um, given what she did and just in general, just, them being both mothers and stuff like that. She's not going to sit there and do that to her. Ned obviously was not going to sit there and drop the hammer on her. So they're both understanding. Um, Now, of course, go back to the Michael and Jason part. Like I said, he did sit there and say he is partly doing this to sit there and punish her. I mean, you gotta sit there and think about this for a minute. Bro, you literally sat there and kissed another man and he was willing to let that go. I don't know if I'm willing to sit there and let that go. And then you wind up just full blown affair, right? And he still was willing to sit there and go 50-50 with the kids. And most men at that point is going to be vindictive as hell, petty as hell for a very long time, right? But he's also just like, you're not really being a good mother. You're not sitting there putting the kids' needs ahead of your own. And I'm not dealing with that. I'm getting those goddamn kids away from you and Drew. Because, I mean, I feel like that's a whole nother video. And Jason's like, is there a way to compromise? There it is. She gets rid of Drew. Um, Michael is also hoping that Sasha does sit there and change her mind about this whole, let him be a part of the child's life. I don't know. Her reasoning is actually kind of stupid to some extent. Like it's smart, but it's dumb, right? Like okay, right now, obviously he can't sit there and even approach the situation because the custody case. Afterwards, though, what are you going to do? You're just going to let the world believe that Jason is the child's father. Because, Jason doesn't have any enemies or anything like that, right? Like direct enemies. At least with Michael. Michael is just a proxy of people who have enemies. Jason directly has enemies. So, Sasha's reasoning just seems all kind of off when you really stop to think about it. You know. Plus, like I said, it's just something that's just. Although I understand that the safety part, and I get that, but it's also just maybe just on an emotional level, like it just feels just so off and so wrong that she's just deciding and kind of playing on his good-hearted nature. That hey, listen, as far as keeping the child away from him. Now, she does sit there and say she's a hypocrite for trying to also help out taking Willow's kids, but is being controlling and not allowing Michael to sit there and see his child. And that is kind of hypocritical in a sense, but the other part is a lot more. So let's be honest, if Michael was a different person and he was like, listen, I want to see my child, I can protect my child, I want to do that, and there's no ifs, ands about it, what is she going to do then? Hmm? I mean, because technically he could sit there and fight her too for that. So in a sense, she's also kind of being a little manipulative of his good nature, just like she is. The problem with Willow is that her shit kind of just ran out. Like he just had enough. He just had enough. Like his patience is not there with her anymore, so she can't do that. Sasha, on the other hand, she can kind of skate by a little bit more up until a point. You gotta sit there and remember she's not making some of the idiotic choices, except for taking Sitwell's money. Um, you better hope that he don't collect. You better hope he don't sit there and say, hey, listen, since I gave you this money and stuff like that, I'm gonna need you to do something for me. I'm gonna need you to do this. I'm gonna need you to do that. Then she's gonna be like, oh, But, I mean, there's some scenes for like Tracy and Ned, doesn't really go anywhere. Um, Ned wasn't even really that upset with Tracy because Tracy didn't even know the situation for that long. Everybody's worried about GM, and they just want to have him get his space. Brooklyn's also worried, and she's hurt and stuff like that. But she's gonna have to, let him come to her. I mean, and Tracy also knows what Lulu did, and of course, you know how that conversation is gonna go. So I don't even want to even really kind of go there. I feel like for the most part, I think that's actually about it. That is the general gist of my feelings towards this episode. If I missed anything, write in the comment section below. Come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Um, so I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of iffy about that. Most likely, I'll probably do it. Even though I do got to wake up kind of early. So I'm really debating that. But unless my mind changes, I'll probably want to do on the live stream. And I'll post it on the community tab. Also, you can just go to the page. See, that's another thing. You can also just go to the page. Once you go to the page around like 7, 8 o'clock, I usually have, the live stream set up so either way. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video and live stream.